after that brief introduction, let's get into the really nitty-gritty details of how to do this, because I'm not going to give it to you in factored form. So we're going to find x-intercepts, vertical asymptotes, and holes for this problem. First thing you're going to want to do is factor, because we need it in factored form. So the numerator, I can factor out in x, and then you have x plus 2. The denominator, we just find factors of 6 that add up to 5. So that'd be x plus 2 and then x plus 3. And then once we've factored, the first thing I'm going to do is find my hole. Okay. Remember, hole are the common factors. So right here, I've got a common factor of x plus 2. I'm going to find the 0 of that. So the 0 of x plus 2 is negative 2. So that's going to be the x value. But you actually need to find the y value as well. Now, in order to find a y value, you usually just plug in your x value to find the y. If I plug negative 2 into the original, I want you to note what happens. It's negative 2 squared plus 2 times negative 2 over 2 squared plus 5 times negative 2 plus 6. When you plug that in, if I just do the numerator, I'll get 4 minus 4, which is 0. On the denominator, I'll get 4 minus 10 plus 6, which is also 0. That is, by definition, what a hole is. It's the x value where you get 0 over 0 for your equation. So the reason that happened is because we found a 0 of both the top and the bottom. So the second step you want to do is actually simplify, because we don't want to use the original equation. We want to use the simplified equation when we plug it in for y. So we're going to go ahead and do negative 2 over negative 2 plus 3. That way we don't get 0 over 0. So negative 2 stays the same. Negative 2 plus 3 is 1. So this is negative 2. So our hole is at negative 2, negative 2. So we've got that done. So then we just have to find vertical asymptote and x-intercept. So just a reminder, x-intercepts are the zeros of the top. Therefore, for this one, it's just at 0. So our coordinate would be 0, 0. And then vertical asymptotes are the zeros of the denominator. So you're just trying to figure out what makes x plus 3 equal 0. And that would be negative 3. Oh, that should not be a coordinate. Sorry, I was thinking x-intercepts. You write it as x equals negative 3. And that would be your answers for those. So let's go ahead and do another problem. So once again, here's another one. We're going to go ahead and factor first. So the numerator factors to x plus 3, x minus 3. The denominator, I can take an x out, and then I have x squared minus 3x minus 10. And I'm going to factor that more, that's why I'm writing this down. So factors of negative 10 that add up to negative 3 are negative 5 and positive 2. So for this one, no holes, because there are no common factors. Okay. So from there, and I guess I could have just written that down right here, no holes. So from there, let's go ahead and find our x-intercepts, which I like to do just from the equation. So our x-intercepts are the zeros of the numerator. So one of our zeros is negative 3. So I have negative 3, 0. The other 0 is positive 3. So I have positive 3, 0. And that would be your x-intercepts. Vertical asymptotes are the zeros of the denominator. So we'd have x equals 0, x equals 5, and then x equals negative 2, because I just find the zeros of each of these factors down here. And that's it. So let's just keep doing some more, keep working through it. So here's our next problem. To find all these, remember we have to factor. Numerator has a greatest common factor of 3, and then I have 2x plus 3. The denominator has the greatest common factor of x. And then I'll be left with x squared minus 4, which x squared minus 4 does factor down more. It's the difference of perfect squares. So x squared is the same as x times x, and negative 4 is the same as a positive 2 times a negative 2. Okay, once again, no holes. And the reason for that is there are no common factors. Second thing we're going to do is our x-intercepts. And we're just going to find zeros of each of the numerator's factors. So 3 doesn't have an x, so we skip that one. 2x plus 3, if you're not sure what that 0 is, set it equal to 0 and solve. So subtract 3, divide by 2, so you get x equals negative 3 halves. And our y value is always 0. So that's our x-intercept. So then vertical asymptotes are the ones on the bottom. And we've got x equals 0, x equals negative 2, and x equals positive 2. You're just doing the zeros of each of those. Hopefully this is making sense. Let's go ahead and do another. I'm just going to keep going on and on until we're good to go. So this one, greatest common factor. So remember, always factor first. So greatest common factor of the numerator is a 2, and then it's x minus 3. Greatest common factor of the denominator is 5x. And then you have x minus 3, because 15 divided by 5 is 3. So this one, we haven't had one of these in a bit, does have a hole. So remember, we factor and then simplify. So it's 2 over 5x. So our hole is at positive 3. So we've got to find our y value. So we plug 3 in, and you do it into the simplified, remember. Because if we go back to the original, you're going to get 0 over 0, and we don't want that. So 2 over 5 times 3 is 2 over 15, which does not simplify, so that's our answer, 2/15 for our y value. Then we go to x-intercept and y-intercept, or x-intercept and vertical asymptote. So vertical asymptote comes from the bottom, and that would give us x equals 0. X-intercept, since there's no x on top, 2 can't equal 0, so there are no x-intercepts. And that, all three of these, would be your final answer. I'll highlight these all in green so we know what our answer is. And let's do one more of these. So factor first, 4 terms, do the lightning bolt method, and then factor out your greatest common factor. So we get x squared times x minus 2 plus 9 times x minus 2. Which would factor to x squared plus 9, x minus 2. And the numerator does not factor. X squared plus 9 looks like it should factor more, but since it's a plus sign, we can't go further, so there are no holes. So that's part of our answer. And then let's go to vertical asymptote. Now this one's tricky, x squared plus 9. If you set that equal to 0 and then try to factor, or try to solve for x, so I'll put that back, you get an imaginary number because you'll take the square root and it ends up being imaginary. Imaginary numbers you get rid of, so we ignore those. So this one, though, would give me x equals positive 2. So that is the only vertical asymptote right there. So let's highlight that one. So then we go to x-intercept, our last one. That comes from the numerator. So you get x equals 0 for that one. And that's your answer for that one. So those are your answers. or I should say 0, 0. I've been writing it as